What follows are some of the voices of the Laurel Highlands Conservation Landscape, an initiative undertaken by the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources in Pennsylvania and partnering with many groups throughout the area. These are a few of the people talking about what they've been involved with over the last decade. We hope you enjoy and learn. Brad Clemenson served for many years as the Pennsylvania Environmental Council's lead in the Laurel Highlands Conservation Landscape. In that position, he brought together a variety of partners, wrote grants, raised money, and got projects done.
In the Laurel Highlands got started a number of years ago when some people filed an application to the National Trust for Historic Preservation to get the whole area branded as a destination and put together an application that became one of 4 finalists for this major national grant. And we didn't quite make the cut. At the same time all that was going on, there was a thing that was really picking up great momentum called the Pennsylvania Wilds. And they became the first conservation landscape. But that created a model then where DCNR then began to identify other special landscapes and put together programs that would be these conservation landscape initiative areas. So all the work that was being done ahead of time in the Laurel Highlands seeking that federal grant, we were poised and we became the second of what now is 7 conservation landscapes around the Commonwealth. One of the things that was very helpful early on was we had a very good person to work with as our internal lead from DCNR. Lauren Ingram did a great job. She really understood what we were trying to do. She worked well with Mike DeBerardinis, and Mike was almost visionary in the way he got people focused on doing conservation on a landscape basis. He recognized that people don't travel to a place because it's a particular county, but they travel because they want to see a river. They want to explore a mountain. They understand where they're at based on the landscape.
One of the longtime partners of the conservation landscape has been Donna Holdorf, Executive Director of the National Road Heritage Corridor.
So as the Executive Director of the National Road Heritage Corridor, one of the state's 12 designated heritage areas, our work throughout the region involves community and economic development, everything from technical assistance in helping someone figure out who to call in Harrisburg, to writing grants, to attending public meetings and explaining to people the opportunities that are presented by building a trail or a community center, or even just opening access to a river or the front of a water. We're really pleased to be engaged with the conservation landscape, and we've been working over the years since the Laurel Highlands Conservation Landscape first began in working on implementing some of the concepts and ideas of developing a large landscape to support quality of life for residents, as well as further attract visitors to the Laurel Highlands. We've been very involved in the development of the new visitor center at Ohiopyle. Really unique opportunity. The interpretation includes interpreting the historic National Road, the first federally funded highway built in the early 1800s, to the large landscape that is Ohiopyle with all its unique flora and fauna. Obviously, it's whitewater, but also its intersection with the Great Allegheny Passage, and encouraging visitors to explore not only inside the visitor center and the center of the park, but the far reaches of the park and even beyond, exploring along the byways, the Laurel Highlands Scenic Byway and the Historic National Road Scenic Byway, to find the history and heritage that really made this region so important in the development of the United States, as well as a much sought-after destination for visitors.
In addition to the goals of raising visitation to the area, the conservation landscape has also been focused on ensuring the conservation of the natural areas and amenities in the region. Leading that effort with DCNR and others has been the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy. Jane Menchek is leading their efforts.
You know, personally, there's so many wonderful things to do in the Laurel Highlands that I would like to say in my career at the end of the day that I've helped protect things, but I bring new opportunities to the table. we have a solid foundation of multiple users having buy-in for why it's important for things to be protected. Yeah, some days they don't always come together, but I think overall, like, you have mountain biking, you have kayaking, you have hiking, you have biking, and I think we're at the point in our history as a state, most days we have a common ground and we can come together. I just think that if you look at our state of Pennsylvania, for the amount of green space and trails, that we have so much going on, and it gives us an opportunity to take it to the next level. But then at the same time is to acknowledge those have come before us and the history that we're building upon. I think there's so much potential, and we have a lot of great folks that have vision for the Laurel Highlands, and we have a lot of great plans and priorities. We have a lot of partners at the table, and again, coming to what our state has to offer, it'll be exciting to see what another 20 years down the road and where it will be. Western Pennsylvania Conservancy is the oldest land trust in Pennsylvania. One of our keystone holdings is Falling Water and the Bear Run Nature Reserve. And that's just one part of the Laurel Highlands. But I would say many of us feel that the Laurel Highlands is the heart of who we are at the Conservancy. And we always talk about coming back to areas where we've done protection. So it's the heart of who we are. And we're very excited to work with our partners in this landscape.
Seeing the nexus of the natural world and tourism in the Laurel Highlands is Renee Seifert. Her job as president of the Laurel Highlands Visitors Bureau puts her in contact with visitors, business owners, and residents alike.
The Laurel Highlands Visitors Bureau covers the 3,000 square miles that includes the Ridges area of the Laurel Highlands. I grew up in this area as a young person, and so coming back for us and for me to see the transformation relative to the trails, to cleaning up the streams and the creeks and making the Laurel Highlands itself a destination for people to be able to get away from the big city and enjoy and engage with nature once again. I think the biggest potential in the Laurel Highlands is what we have relative to public lands, access to the water, access to the mountains, because you don't have those in the cities. And I think people, after a period of time, start to crave that opportunity to get away, to be able to disconnect with their daily lives and sit back and relax. And there's been a lot written about the need for children to be out of doors. The kids don't go hunting with their fathers anymore because their fathers didn't hunt. They don't go fishing. So I think that is an obstacle, and that is something that we need to work really diligently on, is helping those people reconnect with the environment, or we're not going to be able to save the environment that we have.
At the heart of the landscape is an incredible network of public lands, with state parks as the crown jewels. Mike Mumaw is the manager of Laurel Hill State Park.
I think what state parks do in the Laurel Highlands is create memories. I think that's something we've always been in the business of doing, and we continue to do. It's a lot more complex than that in terms of an operation. But at the end of the day, it's what people take away from your parks is memories. And frankly, that's all we really have when it comes to an end. Our work, it's really layered in a lot of different ways. I tell employees when they come here that park visitors look for three things. They look to see if the grass is cut, if the litter's picked up and the restrooms are clean. I think that's part of it, but there's obviously a lot more to it. It's a lot of ephemeral feelings that people will have in those things that also become generational too, that they share and pass from one generation to the next. And that's something that's really important, is that those traditions continue to carry on. And our job is to evolve with that. We can't think that something in the 1960s or 70s is going to be the same as it was today. Things change. We need to evolve. We need to adapt. And that's something that has been a challenge for a lot of people, is being able to keep up with what people want, what they like to see, things they like to do. We've often thought, well, that's the way it's always been. And really, it's not the way it should be. So part of our job as park professionals is to make sure that we're staying current with trends, not just in recreation, but also what people like to do. I think the Laurel Highlands brings a tremendous amount of value to the people who live here as well as the people who visit here. And we try and balance the needs of both. I believe particularly in this day and age, if you aren't an active partner and you aren't interested in partnerships, you are doomed to fail. You need to share your value, show your value, and make sure others understand that you're not operating in a box and that you're willing to step outside of that. And when I look at the conservation landscape, that's a way I've always described it to people, so that they blur the boundaries of your state park or your state forest or your resort or your business and just look at it as an entire area. I think that's something that we do particularly very well here, in that we don't want a visitor to walk through the door and us to give them a phone number to call. We want to be able to at least link them in the right way and provide that information to them so that their trip's all more seamless and enjoyable when they're here. Again, something that we're cognizant of and something that we strive to be good at and help our visitor experience be one of the best that you can possibly have.
These have been but a few of the voices of the Laurel Highlands Conservation Landscape, partners with whom we at the Pennsylvania Environmental Council have been pleased to work over the last decade or longer in some cases, and with whom we look forward to continuing to work in the future. If you get the opportunity, get to the Laurel Highlands and find yourself outside.